All right, we'll make a start, shall we? On my different screens. Okay, tēnā koutou, tēnā koutou, tēnā koutou katoa, ko kai Coleman tuku ingoa. Kia ora everyone. I'm going to begin with karakia as ever, and I was just saying to Marissa, my lovely guest here, that I am trying to vary my karakias with these sessions to build up my repertoire of karakia, but I appreciate that makes my pronunciation at times not the best, but I am giving it a go. Mā te whakapuna, mā te tūmanako, mā te titero, mā te whakarono, mā te mahitahi, mā te whakamoromori, mā te araha, patie a mātou. And this is about compassion. We are listening and hearing and thriving and striving together with compassion. All right, so welcome everybody. Thank you those people who've taken the time out of their busy, almost at the non-contact time, a few more weeks to go, and I know there's a lot happening, so I appreciate anyone taking a minute to join us today. We are going to be talking about Phase 5 draft physical education. That's 11 and then 12, 13. And I'm delighted to be joined by my lovely guest. Probably what we might do actually, just to mess around with the format, keep everyone on their toes, is Marissa, I might just ask you to introduce yourself first, and then I'll kind of talk us through the main resource page, the landing page for everything, and then we'll dive a bit more into the content. Is that all right?
Sure. Kia ora koutou, ko mangare toku manga, ko tamaki toku awa, ki tamaki makauro toku kāinga naenei, ko kaiarahi te ao kuru, Aotearoa toku mahi, ko Marisa Mackay toku ingoa. I am Marisa Mackay. I'm the Subject Advisor for Physical Education New Zealand, and so sit in the space of curriculum development and supporting schools around what that looks like in practice. So, very thrilled to be here. So thanks for the invite.
You're most welcome. Okay, all right. Well, we'll click over then to the main share screen, and I will talk you through the resource. Again, I think it's really important to acknowledge that this content only landed to everybody on Wednesday of last week. So people have literally had 1 week to get to grips with the Phase 5 draft content for physical education at Year 11 and Year 12, 13. And the period of consultation closes on the 8th of July, so just a few weeks away, which I know makes it a bit crunchy. And so just accepting that everything obviously that we're working with here has been done and turned around very, very quickly. I have had some contributions to the resources that I make as ever, so it's not just Claire's random thoughts. But I imagine there'll be more things coming out over the next couple of weeks, so I would encourage everyone to keep their eyes peeled for that. And also to recognise that, it is a busy time for many schools, many teachers, principals and schools just getting to the end of their term 2 activities. And so, anything that you can do, however, to engage, I think is really appreciated, both, I'm sure, by those who'd like to hear about your consultation, but also just in terms of you getting to grips with what might be coming down the pipeline and having a look at that. All right, so the main landing page consultation guide, as ever, this button here will take you to the content itself, so over to Taharangi and to the documents. You do have to download them again, so you have to scroll right down to the bottom here, and you'll find physical education is the last 2 down here. You've got your Year 11 content. Oh, they're tricky. They're kind of Year 12, 13, and then Year 11 content are available for you to download. There's also the little info sheet that you might want to go to there. That's your main thing to look at first. The consultation page, again, for Phase 5. So this just gives you that overview of all of the groups. So for those of you who don't know, Group 1 subjects have already been consulted on, or at least that consultation is closed. And this falls within Group 2, and we have Group 3 still to look forward to. And this kind of just give you that outline so you can see what's already happened, what's gone before, and where Health and PE sits in there. And then this one here will take you directly to the consultation survey. Now, it's really important to note with the survey, as I have learned, that it will give you different questions depending on how you identify yourself in the first part of the consultation survey. So when you click through here, it will ask you, are you a principal? Are you a parent? Are you a academic? And depending on how you answer that question, it will give you a different array of questions. They are roughly, however, in these question categories. That kind of overarching question, it's really more about the learning area than specifically into the subjects. And then we'll ask you about subject sort of specific questions, and then thinking about kind of the quality, the coherence, the progression, those sorts of elements within the document. This little button here, however, will take you to a full list of all the available questions. But I just want to preface that to say that you might not get to answer all of those questions depending how you answer. But it is maybe worth having a nosy just, to kind of think about what you might want to answer about. The other thing to bear in mind, of course, is that whilst most of the questions are on a sliding scale, do you, strongly agree, strongly disagree, or not really sure, there is opportunity at the end of the survey to upload your own feedback. It takes quite large size files. So if you want to write lots of things down and just upload a Word file, then we'll do that. I would strongly suggest you hang on to that as well, just so that nothing goes missing, as it sometimes can in the digital realm. But that's sort of the nature of how that SurveyMonkey works. The other thing to note, I did ask about this, is that if you wanted to give feedback on, if you teach a couple of subjects and you wanted to give feedback on one subject and then come back later and do the next subject another time, you can do that. But it does give you the option to give feedback on up to 6 subjects within the same SurveyMonkey. So if you want to sit down and do a whole slew of them at once, you've got that option as well. All right. And then the last page on this little webbook here gives this button here will take you to the ministries phase 1 to 4 draft content. So that's, again, that still remains in draft, but you can go and have a look at that just in terms of thinking about how phase 5 builds upon that or aligns or doesn't. And then this button here takes you to the draft curriculum guide work that I have done previously on phase 1 to 4, if you just want to have a look and see what the conversation was around health and physical education in that space. And, that's that one there. Sorry, didn't realize it hadn't gone back. And then at the bottom, what I've also popped down there is a couple of links to Physical Education New Zealand and Education Outdoors New Zealand as well, that have got some additional information and resourcing, and are other good places to go to think about this particular learning area. Okay, I'm going to go back now into the next one rather than hopping from there. So we'll have a look now at the kind of summary feedback doc, and I will turn to you, Marissa, for your gems of wisdom. Okay, so as I think we found a little bit yesterday when we were talking about the arts, there is a sense that these phase 5 documents, which have involved people that we know from the sector, from local Aotearoa academics and teachers, do seem to have been a bit more tethered to what's going on in schools, and do seem to have really have landed better, certainly, than the phase 1 to 4. So the overwhelming feedback around here is that it does seem like it's properly aligned and informed by our sector. There is some more commitment to equity and inclusion. And this is not the version of this document I was looking at this morning. It's just jumped around a bit. But there is some concern about a misalignment between the phases. Some content issues. Again, almost all of the learning areas that we've looked at and subjects we've looked at, there are issues around the content, the amount of content that is contained within these curriculum documents. And one big kind of glaring thing was the absence of the outdoor education pathway. So outdoor education right now is included in our earlier phase work, and then sort of pops back up in year 12, but there's sort of a missing bridging point in there. And one of the kind of key cross-cutting issues is kind of between this sort of narrowed framing, I guess, around what knowledge is considered, and the actual embodied experiential practice that we're often seeing within physical education, and that and how that's reflected then in some of the assessment. Certainly that section, for those of you that looked at the document, around disciplinary writing again, and how that may limit, I guess, what gets valued and then taught in the classroom. So, Marissa, do you want to give us your high-level thinkings, and then we'll just mosey down this document?
Yeah. I guess from an association's perspective, we are generally happy with the way that the document's been put together. We feel that there's been um, a concerted effort around coherence and a really deliberate attempt to construct physical education knowledge within our New Zealand context that places it as an academic subject. So, in terms of it sitting well within a physical education learning area, we're generally pretty happy with where it's landed there. We acknowledge that there seems to be some alignment to the PEN's alternative curriculum document that we put forward in response to the phase 1 to 4 draft that was put forward. So we feel that there may have been some connection with that document in terms of the development of the phase 5 work. And I guess from our perspective, what we're really encouraging people to do is to connect and engage within the consultation process once again. Really pleased to hear that they've retained the opportunity for people to upload their own document without just having to filter into the questions that are being asked. And so we're really aware of the limited time frame for people to do that, but once again, we encourage people to get connected with that and to take part in that consultation process so that voices and opinions can be heard about that. We do agree with a number of the points that you've raised there already clear around misalignment, where we see these this particular phase 5 sitting at the moment. It's very much disconnected from the current October draft of phase 1 to 4. And we are very much struggling to see how our students at phase 5 are going to be able to pick up that kind of knowledge if they are experiencing the phase 1 to 4 under the current draft document there. So there is a very distinct disconnect between the knowledge that's being developed across those ones there. We too are very concerned about the content loading and the manageability of that for our teachers in front of Ākonga and in the classrooms, and what that is going to look like, and how that's going to be, how teachers are going to manage to put that into programs to make those knowledge and practices accessible for their learners. And so, there are questions around that. And we are concerned about the distinct way that the disciplinary content writing has been called out in terms of students being able to show and reflect the knowledge that they have. We know, particularly in our learning area, that it is movement-based, and so we would like to see that there are more ways of acknowledging their knowledge and understanding of what that looks like for them through demonstrations of their movement capabilities, through digital media, through oral conversations and gathering data, through peer work and coaching work and things like that. We feel like there is a wealth of ways that knowledge and the abilities of our students and capabilities of our students can be gathered through a variety of ways, rather than the calling out of just that kind of written content as one approach there. We are also aware that there is a number of pieces of knowledge and practice within there that will be familiar for our teachers. There will be areas there that they will be very comfortable with, but there will also be a number of things in there that are new. And so we understand and expect that there's going to be a distinct requirement for professional learning and development, and we have questions around what that support will look like for our teachers and how well they will be provided for, so that they are in the best possible position to roll this out when it needs to be.
Just pull up the moving the PowerPoint as we go, Marissa. I'm just wondering if you could talk a little bit about the balancing between the knowledge and practice, because obviously that's probably, is that where that disciplinary writing is also, you're worried about that making an impact?
Yeah, I guess at the moment we are trying to get a little bit more clarity around the practices, trying to move away from those being tasks, but actually being the information of how the teachers can bring the knowledge to life. And so that practice, those practices there are a challenge in terms of trying to articulate what the actual practices are versus it just identifying some suggested possible tasks for students to do. So there is challenge in that space at the moment, in the alignment of knowledge and practices, and does each piece of knowledge need a practice? Are there practices that could encapsulate a number of pieces of knowledge? And so what that looks like, and the ability to make space for allowing the knowledge to come to life, as well as making sure that the practices have also had a place or space within the teaching and learning program. And then again, like you've mentioned, bringing in what that collection of learning looks like in terms of that, specifically what they're mentioning around the writing and the disciplinary writing and the language and that's associated to physical education in that particular space. So it's not clear cut just yet, but there are things to like about where this has been situated as an introductory attempt in terms of what they're putting out in front of people initially.
I'm just thinking, for myself, obviously in the arts, one of the struggles we have with this knowledge practice kind of binary sort of positioning of things. Often the knowledge is, generated through the embodied cognition, through the movement, through the practices, right? It's hard to kind of have one go to the, that linearity is not really how it works when you start doing it.
No, and what we know from the phase 1 to 4 currently is that it's really isolating students in terms of their capacity to connect with the learning area because of the expectations that are set within the current draft curriculum there. And so the disciplinary writing and having that as such a directed expression of how they show their learning, once again, is limiting our students who may be able to connect in that space. And chances are that some of our students are intentionally taking physical education as an opportunity for them to express and show their level of knowledge and understanding and learning in other ways that may be more accessible to them. So we would hope that there's room for development in that space to make that even more inclusive and more equitable for all of our students. In saying that, what we would acknowledge is that this version of Phase 5 is a distinct growth from inclusive practice from current Phase 1 to 4. So we're really pleased to see that, but we do want that to be as open and as accessible as possible for all learners who choose to engage in that.
Yeah, cool. All right, lovely. I'm just moving through now as we're looking at this structure and the pathways idea. I just wondered if you could, I don't know how much you've looked at, but the notion of these kind of structured teaching sequences.
Yeah, so in terms of having a structure, we were pleased to see that something was put into place. In our initial draft, the Phase 1 to 4, there was very little consistent structure across the curriculum other than repeated contexts that students were accessing. So in terms of the phase 5, the fact that we are seeing strands acknowledged, and that the content within those strands are balanced across a number of specific pieces of learning and knowledge that we would like to see. We're pretty pleased to have that movement acknowledged in the moving body section. We're pretty pleased that the socio-cultural influences has been retained in terms of knowledge and pieces there. So the fact that there is a structure around how the learning is being formulated and put together, and that there's consistency across that is very reassuring.
Cool. Good. Excellent. I'm just going to flag, just because it was something that was raised with me around for the outdoor education colleagues, because, and again, we also love your take on this, because as I understand it, outdoor education, is in education, isn't there right now in terms of where it lies, and it's having a distinct subject. And it seems like at the moment in this draft, it's not apparent at all in year 11. And then there's the notion that it will become a vocational pathway in year 12. So there's obviously a kind of gap right now for where that would sit. And I think the concern raised to me was that, outdoor education is not just physical education that happens outdoors, right? And there's more to it than that.
Yeah, so it is a challenging space, because once again, the way that it has been presented in the draft for phase 1 to 4 does distinctly itemize pieces of knowledge that students will need to know. And then as in year 11, with physical education becoming an option, and the lack of anything specific around outdoor education, as it has been situated for phase 1 to 4, does leave a disconnect for if they do choose to continue on with that in year 12 or 13 through those vocational opportunities. And so students in that space who really connect with it will have to spend their year 11 choosing to do something else if there's not something in that space. In the same vein, we see opportunities for outdoor education to come through within some of that physical education knowledge. The specifics of that in terms of our colleagues at EONS and what that needs to look like is still out for very much feedback and things like that in terms of those specifics. But we would see opportunity for those outdoor education experiences to come through within physical education. But if they were solely looking to do something specific in that space at year 11, then there's a gap.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think as the point that was raised that's on the slide too is thinking about, staffing and resourcing to be able to do what you're suggesting, which I think, makes total sense in terms of finding a way through. You obviously need to make sure that that's supported so that, it's practical for teachers to actually do it well, Okay, we better tread along. I'm conscious of time. So in terms of the quality assurance section of the survey is looking at cultural responsiveness and agency, feedback saying that there is not, again, the alignment is an issue, so that progression is tricky to see at this point. There is some visibility around Te Tiriti or Waitangi and some inclusion, but that could have greater integration. And I guess that Hawara now is not fully embedded, but still is remaining as a concept across that curriculum. And a feeling across that there is a recognition, however, around teacher expertise, but potentially just the practicality about the content loading around that. So I guess, where are those specialist teachers going to put their focus? And what will be the practical, needs around implementation, both in terms of time and resource to those. Did you want to speak to any of that?
I guess just loosely in terms of the progressions, we are hoping to see reflected in future versions of the phase 1 to 4 that will build and develop on the knowledge pieces that have been identified in phase 5, so that there is ability for our students to connect with that, because there is a distinct lack of support starting or lack of foundational knowledge being built in that phase 1 to 4 to allow students to connect and engage at phase 5 and further out through the 12 and 13 as well. We are pretty pleased to see Te Tiriti visibility in there and Mataranga Māori, and would like to have the faith that that's been done in a genuine way rather than as an add-on or just a use of language or things like that within the experiences and the knowledge that they've identified.
Absolutely. Okay, we're coming to the end of our session now. So just kind of looking at the big picture summary over things, there's a feeling that there is some space within this curriculum for differentiated and responsive teaching, which is really great to hear. There is a sense that what's been written has got a research base and it has got some evidence that's sector informed and is positioning physical education in the academic frame. The concerns remain, I guess, thinking about that pedagogical narrowing, probably again looking at the disciplinary writing being sort of prefaced, or perhaps the direction of because of the large amount of content, what that will pressure teachers into doing just to get through it. A lack of perhaps an underrepresentation of conceptual understanding, workload I think we've talked to, alignment we've definitely talked to, and then maybe how those bicultural foundations such as Hauora could be further integrated. And maybe, as you say, that's something to look at with a reflecting back on phase 1 to 4 and seeing, some of the parallels, I guess, in the concerns raised around that draft.
Yeah, I think that's a pretty good summary of that. There, Claire?
Well, marvelous. I've got 2 minutes to go. Marissa, do you want to give us your high level plea to our participants about engaging? Maybe I'll go back to that main page again just to show them.
Yeah, well, once again, we have been given the opportunity, and if we don't choose to make use of that opportunity to share our thoughts, then I think we're sitting in a very difficult space. So we can only really encourage people to make a connect with the phase 5 and the year 11 and 12 and 13 documents that are out at the moment. Figure out what that's going to look like practically for you in your teaching and in your departments. What are the challenges around those spaces? What are the things that you love at the moment that just aren't there? What are the things that aren't there at the moment that you need to see in this one, so that it can offer those really rich learning experiences for all of our students who choose to engage in physical education at that phase 5 level and above. So please get involved. And make the most of having the opportunity to upload your own document and give your own true thoughts that may not sit within the questions that they're asking.
Lovely. Absolutely. Get stuck in. So as I said, this page is on the link there, and all of this will go up on Substack very shortly after the conclusion of this webinar, and all of it will go on my bigger landing page, which has got all the materials around the phase 5 as well. And we'll make sure that we keep sending that out to get as much engagement as possible. Hopefully this is useful to everyone as a nice one-stop shop for you to think about some feedback. And I think that advice, Marissa, to really think about what your teaching environments look like, what that really means for you, and the things you really enjoy, and the things that that are missing potentially, and making sure those suggestions go forward is a really good way of thinking about it. Nice, tangible, concrete stuff. All right, I'm going to finish now with karakia. She says, which karakia shall I choose? Oh. I don't know. The choice is too overwhelming me. This is what happens when I start. Maybe we'll just do, oh God, I've completely lost it. That's of course what happens. We'll just do kia hora, because I know you can do that at the beginning and the end, either way. Kia hora te marina, kia whakapapa pona mo te moana, he huarahi mā tātou I te rangi nei. Ahara atu araha mai tātou e tātou katoa. Sure, everyone. Thank you very much for joining us yet again. Thank you, Marissa, so much for your time. Hope that was useful. Hakite, have a good rest of your Tuesday evening.
Ka kite.